Todd Richards here, Roots, Hearts,
and Soul.
Stefan and I are launching this podcast based off cookbook Roots, Heart, and Soul by myself, Todd Richards, with a great help from Chef Stefan, the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Oh, you stop, you. We have such a beautiful history together.
I mean, it's crazy. Really, what people are going to get from this podcast is telling the story of Afro people, Afro cuisine.
We're going to be telling the story of the Pan-African diaspora.
Roots, heart, soul of the world, as we say. We'll be launching in a couple of weeks here, some terrific guests. Stay tuned. Follow us on all our social media at Chef Todd Richards in all formats. Chef Stefan, what's yours?
ChefStefan.it, AYITI. This is the correct way to say Haiti.
Well, we're getting education already.
So if you want to find out more, if you want to listen to great stories being told by amazing, amazing culinary talents, we're going to be hearing stories from Africa all the way to the Caribbean, all the way to the Americas. It's going to be something special.
Giving everyone the good rhythm, the good vibes.
Yeah, baby.
We look forward to seeing everyone. Talk soon.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
Westholme is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. Westholme believes that when nature leads, flavor follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
We talk about food. We talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm your host, Darren Bresnitz. Today, we sit down with Jolene and Louis, the co-owner and chef of Portland's Xiao Ye. We talk about them growing up in LA, their time together in DC, and the unique approach and arrival at their very first restaurant. And then we dip into the archives when we welcomed musical guest Pree, hailing from DC, talking about the local music scene, the Philadelphia roots, and the inspiration for their new record at the time, Rima. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN. Jolene, Lewis, welcome to Snacky Tunes. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. Great to have you. Great to meet you. Your apartment looks very awesome.
We're so excited to be on here. It's so cool.
Xiao Ye, I think I got that. Close enough? Close enough. I practiced it a lot. What I like about it is that it's pulling from this trend that I'm seeing across America, a lot of people tapping into their first generation American experience and roots, and you two are doing the same. For your first restaurant, why did you want to do this, and what was the main inspiration that led you to that decision?
It's funny because I don't think we really went into it thinking that we were going to do it, specifically. I think we started talking about opening a restaurant, and you would sort of tell folks around that you meet, like, they're like, oh, what are you doing? What do you have going on? Mm-hmm, and we're like, oh, we're working on a restaurant. We don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but it's sort of in the works, and we've been thinking about it. And they're like, oh, well, what kind of food do you want to do? And then it was just like, I don't really know how to explain the food that I want to do, aside from it's just a reflection of who I am as a person. We never wanted to stick to one specific cuisine or even like a group of cuisines. It just felt like not true to us. And we didn't want to be sort of constricted by a box or a label. And so, yeah, like it just felt really, it felt really true to us to stick to just calling it who we are, which is first generation Americans, and first generation American food just didn't feel like it had been used before in that way. And so, it's like, I don't know. It just kind of made sense.
Yeah. I think it was like intentionally vague, for a reason. And,
sure.
We are Taiwanese American, but our influences are so, it comes from everywhere, right? From where we lived, our own households, places we worked at, places we traveled, and that really colors, like who we are. And it's so different from what our parents had when they were growing up. Mm-hmm, and I think there's this like very special, like, I don't know.
I think you can make a decision as a creative person to sort of go back and quote unquote, like honor your heritage or whatever. And that's awesome. And we've seen a lot of people do that and like really connect to their, roots, those are things that they say a lot. And I just never felt like I wanted to do that. I wanted to explore who I was. And just sort of like, how, my lived experiences, how my memories, how our work experiences, our travel, as sort of millennials who love and value travel and have been to a bunch of different countries and eaten at a bunch of different places. Like, how does that come forward on our menu? And how does that look? And I think it becomes something that's bigger than what it is, because you look at us and you think, oh, we're, Southern California, Taiwanese Americans, that like you think you have an idea of kind of the food that we want to make or the experience that we want to have. But you wouldn't know sort of specific details about my life in the same way that like I can't look at you, for instance, and know what's influenced you in your career and your life. And
your palate.
Mm-hmm. So, you might have lived
a lot of Jewish food, bagels growing up.
And that's fair, but you're in California, and maybe that's there's more to it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of growing up and food, you're both from LA. What was food like in the house? Do you remember growing up eating out? And it's such an eclectic city, and especially if you're talking about having so many influences. What has stayed with you from the LA dining scene as a kid?
Oh, that's so funny. We grew up like in the 90s and the 2000s. So we grew up in Hacienda Heights, which is just like a teeny suburb in east of LA.
Sure.
And so we were surrounded by a ton of Asian food, and not like East Asian specifically too. And, in the San Gabriel Valley. And so we had all of that growing up. We didn't just only eat Taiwanese food at home or anything like that. We grew up on chain restaurants, Olive Garden, Cheesecake Factory, all that good stuff, and that influences how we eat too. And growing up, those were like our nice restaurants,
Same.
where
Yeah.
we go for birthdays and graduation. And then we got older, and then we kind of ventured into LA proper and started getting into that LA scene of like those nicer restaurants and what upscale casual is and what fine dining is, what a pre-fee menu is. And
we I didn't, my families were big about food, but both of my parents worked a lot. And so as my grandparents got a little bit too old to like spend time in LA with us, we ate less and less at home. My parents are both good cooks, but like it just wasn't a priority. But what became a priority was like going out to eat and going to neighborhood restaurants. And so, a bunch of times a week we would go out to the neighborhood Korean restaurant or Chinese restaurant. And then, like Jolene said, special occasions, graduations, parties, whatever, like we're going to like Chili's, right? And like spending time there. And so it is a very like one foot in very like sort of traditional, authentic Taiwanese, Chinese culture, Asian culture. And then the other foot, like as American as you can get. My mom would go in the drive-through on the way home from work and buy us chili cheese fries, and that would be my dinner.
Ooh.
So
are we talking
it
like
was
Tommy's? We're talking something like
like
that?
Tommy's, but like not actually Tommy's.
Sure. The
like the suburb version.
The suburb version of that. So food was a big part of growing up, but that doesn't always mean that you get into the industry. You both wound up going into it and sort of cutting your teeth in DC. And DC was having a moment during the time you were cutting your teeth there. But what drew you both into it, and what brought you out to DC?
I sort of always knew that I wanted to be in restaurants. I think, from the age of like 15 or 16, I just knew, like, I knew I wasn't going to do a desk job. And so going to culinary school was always like my first path. I went to traditional college and got my degree in that, but then immediately went into culinary school after. And it just sort of I always wanted to do it. I think, I don't know how, but, watching TV growing up, the Food Network, like when it was really, really big. And also, I had a weird project where I interviewed a friend's mom who had owned like a French dip shop or something like that. And it just fascinated me. And so, I think I always wanted to do it. Going to DC specifically and like diving right into it was really more complicated. And Jolene can probably tell you sort of what happened there.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I want to do. I'm very opposite of Lewis. And my sister was like going to Cal Poly Pomona at the time. And then I was like the younger sister. I didn't know what to do. And she's like, there's this like cool program in my school. People like learn wine. It's hospitality and it's hospitality focused. And I didn't know what that was. And I was working at a sushi restaurant at the time, like serving. And so I was like, well, I kind of already in it. So why don't I go to school for it? I didn't know you could go to school for restaurant anything. So it was she was like, you learn wine, you have a student restaurant, you run it, and it's all like a culmination of things. And you get to that point. And so I went there, and it's the Collins College in Cal Poly Pomona. And I thought it was like the most incredible college experience. Like, you learn so much from like food costing, and it's all very like learn by doing. And that's exactly how I learn. It's not all theory. And so after that, it's kind of like those types of schools that funnel you into like the Marriotts and the, Panda Expresses and all that stuff. And so
those are good jobs.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Good jobs. They're not going under. They're not taking a hit. But yes, I get it. It's like, where did you find all these people? It's like, oh, there's school pipelines for this.
Totally. And, that's what happened to me. They funneled me into a Hyatt management program that sent me to DC. So that's how I even got there first. And then from there, I was there for like a year or so. And Lewis was in culinary school at the time. We were just friends. And I came back home to California for like a holiday, and he had just finished a stage in Chicago at the time. And then I was like, how was it? And he's like, I didn't like it. I was like, okay, well.
It was April in Chicago. So
enough
I think
said.
I just made a mistake. Yeah, I just made a mistake.
Yeah, it was just like not what he expected it to be. And then I was like, well, I'm managing a restaurant at that time. And I was like, I went to go eat at this restaurant that just opened. And I must say, everyone on the line looked really happy to be there. So I feel like you should check it out one time. And I told him it was Rose's Luxury. And he looked up the website and, you know, their bios were super cute. The menu seemed really interesting. And it was like something we hadn't seen at the time yet. And I had a great time at the dinner. I thought the food was phenomenal. And 2 weeks later, Louis.
It was less than that. It was like I didn't think of anything of it because DC hadn't.
He was like, "Oh, DC's like not cool."
Yeah,
I want to be in Chicago.
The beginning. That restaurant was pretty much a catalyst.
DC cool.
Yeah, some people might disagree in the DC scene who were doing it before, but that was when I was up in New York, being like, "What's happening in DC right now? What's going on?"
Yeah.
It was that restaurant.
Exactly. Yeah. And like 2 or 3 days later, I saw a Craigslist ad for a cook, and I emailed them and I was like, hey, I'm in LA, but I can get out, you know, within a couple weeks if you'll have me to stage. And they did. And the rest was history.
Now, was DC the time when you guys started to look at each other as maybe business partners or maybe just life partners?
Oh my God, no. We were like 23 and just trying to be 23 in DC.
We were just having fun.
So we were roommates though.
We were still like basically best friends.
Got it. Okay. So
then
was it the move?
Roommate.
Was it the move back to LA after DC? When did you guys start thinking that you guys would be like, we're going to start building not just a life together, but also a business together? Because now you're in the same city and you're working in the same industry. What's the trajectory there?
You know, we worked around each other, sort of both worked at Rose's and at their second restaurant, Pineapple and Pearls.
Yeah. Huge one. Huge.
There was a moment where I was having a little bit of a crisis. And so in that, I sort of realized how much I cared about Jolene and like, you know, more because we've been friends for a long time now. We had known each other since we were in middle school, basically. And I hadn't really developed that kind of care for anybody else that I had for her. And I just had a realization moment towards the end of our time in DC that like she was thinking about leaving, going to New York or whatever. And I was like, I don't really want to go to New York. We were roommates at the time. And I think a lot of things happened where I was just like, damn, I would be really devastated if she left, even though we were just friends, right? So anyway, we'll spare you the Hallmark movie of how we got together. But yeah, we ended up dating there. And then about a year and a half later, we left to LA. Jolene had wanted to go back to school, sort of pivot careers. And I was kind of tapped out on what I wanted to do in DC and ready for another thing. And then, so we moved back to LA so she can go take a course. What was it?
Yeah, I just went back to school for interior design. And so I was wanting to get out of hospitality for a little bit and just do something more creative. And then so we picked LA. I went to the UCLA extension program for that. And then while Louis kind of worked in the restaurant industry there. So that's where he landed. He landed in Felix or at Felix.
Yeah. And I don't think we had really thought about doing anything together, mostly because she wasn't
in it anymore.
We'll take a break because I want to get into the design and the role that design really does play in the restaurant, but in the restaurant world at large today. And I want to talk about the opening of the restaurant and then also the neighborhood vibe. We have a song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Somewhere deep in the valley, a kid quietly screams, please save
Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We're here with Jolene and Louis of Xiao Ye up in Portland. You have moved back to LA, and Jolene, you're in this design program. And I know you said that you're out of the industry, but little did we all know how important the design of a restaurant would really become part of the DNA of any restaurant's identity these days. Did anywhere in the back of your mind think that if I was going to open up a spot or do something, I'd want to have those skills?
That's a great question. I remember thinking it's a valuable skill set, and I could always do hospitality design at some point. I don't think I thought of it as like, I'm going to do my own restaurant. I've always thought like I could do other people's restaurant or restaurants, because I have worked in many, operated a few, managed a ton of them. And so it's like, I kind of know how people move in it and what they value and what makes sense in service, like from a service perspective, and especially front of house, right? And how guests feel. And so I knew that was valuable to have that knowledge of restaurant operations, and then being able to design on top of that would be awesome, because I don't know a lot of designers who've actually done that much hospitality work, but they design it all, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's half a dozen well-known design firms, but every story I hear is, well, we have our vision as the owners, and then we're bringing in a design firm who thinks their vision is maybe better than the one that we have at the spot that we're going to be living in 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. But sure, why not? And Louis, I know that you said I don't want to say reached the ceiling at DC, but you had done what you came to do in DC. And you wind up at Felix, which at the time that I believe you were there, biggest opening in LA, biggest restaurant in LA, packed every night with the legendary Evan Funke at the helm. What did you take away from that experience? Did you level up? Did you learn more like the business side of it? Did you learn how to crank covers? What were you doing?
Yeah, I started there. I think I wanted to start fresh in LA. And so we had gone to eat there.
The night we drove into LA, because we
heard about it.
Yeah, we had a road trip moving from DC to LA, and the first stop was at Felix to have dinner.
And this is when Evan was still he was posting on his Instagram of his hand shapes and stuff like that. And it was just so mesmerizing.
Yeah.
And we ate there, and I was like, damn, this place is really freaking good. And I just wanted to work. I just wanted to do something at some restaurant that was going to inspire me in some way, that wasn't it. I don't mean this in a weird way, but I feel like LA had a little bit of a way of doing things that Felix felt so different from.
Yes.
So I ended up starting there as a line cook. Yeah, and just worked my way around, and I think a lot of things broke my way timing wise. They had just been open for 6 or 8 months when I started there, and I just got a chance to move around a lot and learn a lot of learn a lot of the stations and do a lot of stuff, and slowly work my way up there. And I'll say Evan is and probably will always be my number one mentor. He, I took away so much from working with him in general. A lot about how he looks at food and restaurants and stuff like that. But he was just the most sort of trusting, honest, and empowering chef that I'd ever been around.
Wow.
And he just sort of let me fly and trusted that we would do a good job, and pushed us every day to do more and be better. And just the way he thought and looked at food was really inspiring for me. Italian food is super simple, and it's all about getting the best ingredients and treating them well, seasoning them well. Yeah. It really changed the way I looked, because being on the East Coast, the vibe and the intention is a little different. So then I got to see both worlds, right? This produce driven West Coast thing, and this technique driven East Coast thing. And I feel like it really helped me round out the way that I looked at food. Yeah, it's sort of informed a lot of how I do things now.
I mean, it's amazing to have both approaches to do the market side versus the bells and whistles side and find the common ground that changes the way you look at food and cooking. And when does this start pushing you in the direction of maybe I want my own thing? And maybe I want my own thing that's not in Los Angeles.
Well, you know, I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but pandemic happens.
There was a pandemic, and it affected restaurants.
It did.
Okay.
But
yes, yes. I saw with the timing this opening and the move, I was like, this has got to be a pandemic-related type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, we were in a small apartment, and Jolene was working from home, you know, as a designer. And, you know, I was doing takeout at Felix and getting home at like 8 or 9. And listen, like life balance was great, except we couldn't do anything outside.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, I got to the point towards the end of 2020 where I was like, you know, LA and the world and the country had sort of been shut down a second time. Because of the first period.
Yep.
And I was just like, I can't put salads in boxes anymore. And, you know, it's just, you know, it was like, I just needed something different. And so I left. And then from there, I was like, I kind of don't really know what to do. It didn't crystallize like opening a restaurant until we moved to Portland for me.
And the Portland scene itself has gone through its own ups and downs. And I know that Portland, there's been so much ink spilled about like the death of Portland and things like that. But I've never seen it that way. And so I imagine rolling in to the pandemic and looking at the hospitality sector, you must have had your own thoughts. What was it like when you arrived, and was it hard to meet fellow chefs in the community because it was still COVID times?
The one thing I'll say about Portland is it's really not hard to meet people. It was never difficult. I mean, it's such a small group of folks, especially in the pandemic. It just shrunk a lot, that as soon as we moved here, I was like, wow, this place is the restaurant scene and the way that people, you know, approach restaurants. Like there's so much potential here, and everyone who's doing something still in the moment was like they were really trying to do it. You know, it wasn't this thrown together thing because, you know, we all had to try to survive. And so when we got here, it felt really intentional, if that makes sense. Actually, it was the opposite of what some people might think. I loved it. And it just, everyone who was trying to do something, the barrier of entry was so much lower than in other cities that even during the pandemic, it felt like it was a possibility. You felt like there was a chance. Like, sure, there's quite a few vacant signs, right? And for lease signs around town.
But that was everywhere. Literally everywhere.
But that was everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can get into a space if I have a concept, even during the pandemic, that cost me a fraction of what it would do, you know, in LA or in some other city. And you still saw lines outdoors of places, you know, waiting to grab something to go to sit outside in their car or on a patio or on a bench, and eat food. And it was like, you know, it did feel quite different from LA in that sense.
Yeah. So you're in Portland, you have this idea that you're going to do something. When does everything start to coalesce? And now I know that like you didn't know exactly the plan of what it sort of wound up to be, but did you find the space? Did you have an idea, you know, where you're inspired by the neighborhood? When does it start becoming something physical and real?
I think, well, we first moved here because I got a design job up here. So Louis left Felix, moved up here with me. And then he was kind of just he was trying to find a job. He couldn't because no one was hiring like a management job for back of house at the time, right? Because everyone was cutting salaried positions.
Yep.
And so he started pouring wine at this really cool wine bar called Le Cave here in Portland. And he, for the first time, he was stepping into a front of house position and learning a lot about wine while I was doing design. And then there was, I think we were like 6 months or ish into our move here. And he was like, I really want to do something of my own. And I think he was just getting the itch. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, maybe like a tiny, tiny wine bar and something that I can control, just like me and another person. And I was like,
sure.
That's never been your dream, though. You've always wanted to do like full service, like kind of like Rosa style dinner, you know, like a full thing.
She let me play along with this idea of a small wine bar for a while. And then she was designing and I would have a day off. I wasn't working a ton. And so I would just be like, bother her during work and just be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or like, like, what should I do? And at one day she was just like, but you don't want to do that. Like, why are you doing something? Why are you doing something that is like a half-ass version of what you actually want to do?
If you're going to do it, it's the same amount of work to launch a business.
That's what I said.
It's the same amount of work. And guess what? You knew a great designer.
Right. And so my retort to her was, hey, that sounds really great. But like, to open a restaurant, it takes a lot. Like, I don't know anything about starting it. And especially something that's as complicated. Like, sure, if I had a team of 5 total people and it was just me running it, like that's a lot easier to deal with. You want me to open a full service restaurant, for dinner, like all that stuff. Like, I don't know how to do it. Like, I need some help. Are you going to help me? Like, just open the restaurant. I don't need you to help me work it. I just want you to help me get there. And I don't know, did you even hesitate?
I don't think so. You just like, I knew you wanted to do something, that you've always wanted to open a restaurant. And I don't know, I think it was like a time in my life too. I was really ready to do something different as well and not work for other people. And so I saw this as an opportunity also, just like, oh, I could design for you in the beginning and then we'll see how it goes.
I mean, needless to say, it opens, it gets best new restaurant from Eater. It feels just like, now that we know, a clearly thought out vision, that a lot of things have fell into place, which is because when I looked at it and I've heard about the restaurant, I was like, oh, these guys really knew exactly what they were going after. But it seems to now have pulled from all of your different walks of life, which is such a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, it's a neighborhood restaurant. And I know that you put that at the center when you're opening. I'd love to know why, as an identity detail, that was there, but also maybe as a financial business detail of the importance of being a neighborhood restaurant to you.
That's a good question.
Like why we wanted
to be talked about as a neighborhood restaurant.
Oh man, I wanted community in my life, like so badly. I've always wanted it. It was really hard for me to find it in the same way that we found it here in Portland. And
a little bit of background on that. We're in LA and we love LA, don't get me wrong. But it's definitely a get in your car sort of town, right? It's hard to build, find friends, and like get the opportunity to actually spend time with them. And then you move to a small city like Portland, where everyone's like, hey, come to my house. It's 3 minutes away. We can hang out, drink wine or whatever. It's like so community based. And it's so easy to do those things that all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot, that's what I was missing, in my life.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Look, I'm a New York to LA transplant. 100% get what you're going for. Yeah. Well, let's set the scene. It's like, let's pick Thursday night. Everyone's tucked in. They're feeling at home because that's the way it's designed. They put the drink order in. They're perusing the menu. What's the vibe? What's on the stereo? If I'm walking by, why am I stopping in and sitting at the bar?
Wow.
Well, you're good at this.
Okay, so you're sitting at the okay, so there's one specific feeling that we really wanted to get out of it. You know, when you walk by, and we actually had this in Brooklyn, this feeling in Brooklyn. We were walking down to go to dinner reservation, and you're in this nondescript area with nothing going on, and a door opens and you hear like chatter, right? It's like this beautiful, lively restaurant chatter that feels, you're like, damn, it's like we're moth to a flame, right? We just want to get in there. And being in Hollywood, in generally like a very transitory area, like you're just driving through it. We wanted a little bit of that. And so we want, when you walk in, for it to have that feeling of like this immersive chatter of a busy restaurant, of a beautiful restaurant, and for you to almost be transported away from where you are. So you walk in the door, you're sitting at the bar because it's like this most inviting thing, this environment that just like makes you feel super warm and comfortable.
Yeah, the lighting's like moody but not too dark. We got like Mariah Carey or who's playing on the stereo.
Yeah, it's a lot of like 90s R&B, a little bit of hip hop, but also like random K-pop music and random like new stuff. And it's just like, it's, I always like to call it, I always like to like, it should be like, it should feel sexy, right? Like the music should make it feel sexy in there. And so, yeah, it's a lot of that. It's stuff that I grew up listening to be fair, and a lot of like new music too. Omar Apollo is a heavy hitter on the radio station because it's just like, it's so vibey.
Yeah. So many people compliment our playlist. It's like insane. They're like, who does it?
Yeah.
It's so good here. I'm always like, everyone's like vibing out. You can feel it. It's like, so good.
I mean,
like it's just a lot of stuff. Yeah.
The playlist sounds like the whole journey to the restaurant, where it's like we're just throwing the stuff that we love, that means a lot to us, and everyone else is loving it.
Yeah, a little bit of country in there.
Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton is amazing, and yeah, it is a you know, and you know, you have to make a playlist that's pretty long, and so you just start throwing stuff against the wall, and you play it over the speakers, and you're like, does that sound good in here? And it does. And you're like, okay, cool. We'll add it to the playlist. So.
Amazing. Well, listen, congratulations. I can't wait to get up to Portland and come in. I feel like Portland is now one of those spots where I would have to eat like double munches and triple dinners to hit all the spots that I want to go to. But if people want to swing in or see what you're cooking, because I know that you guys are a bit seasonal in the menu, where can they go? How can they make a reservation? How can they follow along?
Yeah, I mean, we have a ton of events. You can always follow us on Instagram, is at Xiao Ye PDX. Louis is our social media manager as well, so that's the person on our Instagram. We also do like newsletters to those who want to follow, and then we have a lot going on specifically this month too.
Yeah, follow along. Our website is xiaoyepdx.com. It's super straightforward, and Instagram, and make a reservation through Resi and all that stuff. But honestly, like part of being a neighborhood restaurant is that like you can generally walk in and get a bite, sit at the bar, get a drink and a snack, and go out, or you can make it a special occasion thing. And yeah, July is busy for us. Like we have every month we do a burger of the month thing for one Monday out of the month. And so you can sort of keep up with us on that. Every month we have something new going on. And yeah, we're just going hard. At the end of the month, we have a really cool sort of event collaboration with Eddie Massey from Eddie's Grocer in Greenpoint. And he's going to come by and throw some things on our menu, and some meze and some dips and such. And yeah, you know, come in and see what we got going on, because the menu changes almost all the time.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. Thank you to Lauren for setting this up. We have a song from the archives and then a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Well, they all want to be my first, but my first was long ago. Maybe the imperial nature nature is coursing through them bones. And I was taught to believe there's no limit to the love that I can give. But if I keep pursuing science, I just might locate it. And I'm doing this for science. 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 Those bronzed men from Marseille never do a thing they say. Distract me with their eyes, and I start to fantasize. And I drink their anise cocktails, and the stories they regale. It's just an experiment I conduct when I wanna get a drink. And I'm doing this for science. 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 Parisians are so blunt. They take you by the arm and lead you to their flats, then turn on the old world charm. And in flyover land, I was taken by a man who loved me in a barn. And I thanked my lucky stars.
Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything, especially when it comes to beef. In Northern Australia, there's a different approach to raising high-quality beef. Westholme, based in Queensland and Northern Territory, is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. Westholme stewards 16 million acres of rangeland, guided by their natural ecosystems. They're led by a belief that if they balance the needs of their cattle with the needs of the environment, both can thrive. Westholme's team of rangelands experts and nature managers use a variety of tools to monitor and respond to the welfare of the environment, like satellites that address grass health and on-the-ground research. Cattle are happier when they have the freedom to forage and explore, so Westholme ensures that they can roam wild, foraging at will for the first 2 to 3 years of their lives. Their cows graze on native grasses like Mitchell grass, which is only found in Australia, along with dozens of other plants, herbs, and seasonal legumes. The result is a high-quality Wagyu beef that reflects the terroir of Northern Australia and a flavor suited to complement any cuisine. Westholme believes that when nature leads, flavor follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. Welcome, Pree. Pree, how's it going? Hard question. Summer.
Hard question.
How'd you like that pizza?
Oh, it was great. It was fantastic.
The white pizza.
Thank you for coming.
That white pizza. Yeah. You
That
think
white
that margarita is going to be the best, and then that white pizza comes out, and it just kind of...
You know,
Seals the deal.
white pizza's it's a tricky one. It's either awesome or not awesome.
I actually pretty much hate most white pizzas, except for the...
I mean, too cheesy, and you just get into mucus.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
I mean, it's very brave. Most bands won't eat pizza before they come play, but I admire your courage.
It's that
we go deep.
Pree doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's that DC
The
bravery.
jumbo slice. That's what we have. We have those.
Oh my god, and Adams Morgan.
Yeah.
Duccini's. See, that's product placement.
I've had a jumbo slice, and it's just sort of.
Just for people to know how big, what are we talking
Greg,
about?
it's
Jumbo?
bigger.
Oh, God. There's
The
no
entire
comparison.
pizza is 30 inches.
Okay.
And so you get a slice, and it's a good 12.
Right.
So it's like 1.5 size of like a normal like New York pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, something
But
like that.
Duccini's is the only one that's good.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. And like how is it just one, or do you sometimes double up?
You cannot double.
Oh,
Greg.
Just asking.
Greg, it's like 3 slices in one.
Sometimes you're hungry.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's
Most
really
of the time.
good for I might
Late night. It's the only time to go.
Hold on a second.
I might have bought 2 one time, but I regretted it.
Okay.
That's because you're you. Like you're not a real person.
I feel like that the jumbo slice is a big unifier. Like you see like indie kids to sorority girls, like everyone in between, like chowing down on these slices.
I mean,
So I think I heard once that there was like a drag queen who got like totally beat up by normies in a pizza place in a jumbo slice.
Fucking normies.
I know, right?
Goddamn normies.
This should be the great unifier.
Yeah.
I mean,
Should be.
It should be.
We'll track that guy down and make sure we string him up
Smother
by
him.
his toes.
Yeah.
And then
And
smother
jumbo
him in
slices.
jumbo slices.
No, instead of like tar and feather, you like sauce and cheese him or
That's
something
right.
like that.
I mean, hot pizza can do pretty good damage.
Vigilante justice.
Let's talk about the current DC music scene, because we used to go down there during like the Fugazi days when we were in high school,
Oh, damn.
and like run through all that Nation of Ulysses.
400 years and
Yeah.
Engine Down and all that
You and
stuff.
Not You.
Cuba Not You.
Oh my, their first album, still one of my favorite.
Yeah, I got to see them because I'm from Philly originally. I saw them play at the
so are we.
Cavalry. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wait, you
Part
see
of
the
Philly.
Khyber Pass?
No, not the Khyber. I saw them play at the Cavalry at like 47th in Baltimore.
Yeah, okay.
They didn't
okay.
normally have church. It was the first time that Black Eyes had ever gone on tour too.
Oh my God, Black Eyes.
It was like before their first record came out, and they just had like a single, and like the two of them. And I think I was 17, and it was like 2001 or 2002.
You're dating yourself.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always
Was
dating
it that?
myself.
No.
I think it was earlier than. Maybe it was around that. Yeah.
Yeah, about then. Whenever, basically before Different Damage came out.
Oh my God.
But
Talk about a great album too. That Black Eyes album.
oh, that record's awesome.
So where's the DC music scene now?
It's mostly house show based now, as opposed to venues. So there's a really great network of houses that are doing shows around town. So they're like genre specific kind of house shows, and then others that do like a wide variety. So it's a pretty diverse scene.
Pretty eclectic.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any particular sound that it's known for, which is kind of cool because no band is ripping off some other band in DC.
yeah.
What are some of the houses and the associated genres, or the house names?
The biggest one that I would say is this one called Paper House that's run by Alex from the band Paper House. He started about 4 years ago. I lived there when I first moved to DC, actually. And that really started a huge, boom. Because the thing is, everybody in DC is incredibly organized because it's this bureaucratic nightmare of a city. So it kind of goes into the culture in a really positive way, at least in the DIY. Because a lot of DIY, people just don't.
Their heart's in the right
shit.
place,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to organize it.
Yeah.
But DC, they don't necessarily always know how to write a legit song, but they know how to organize.
Damn.
It's easier to organize than it is to pour your heart out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but no, there's a lot of great stuff that's happening right now. My personal favorite thing that I wrote, the sort of avant-garde jazz scene there is really, really good.
Union Arts.
Yeah, and there's this thing. Select DC, which does more like the noise stuff. Like they brought like Container, and there's this really like I think Pharmacon did a show through them and stuff like that. But they do like all the noise stuff, and it's run by this dude named Josh Levi, and it all moves around in different places. There's a place called Union Arts. Did you just mention that? Our friend Luke Stewart, who's and he plays in a band called Laughing Man that's really rad.
Yeah. And is it? I mean, are house shows like not overrun like by cops? Or are they like fully organized?
No.
Or how does it work?
Okay, there's certain houses that are in like really good neighborhoods, so they have to be done by 10 p.m.
Can't be really good neighborhoods. Like how really good?
DuPont Circle.
A lot's changed.
Oh shit! Really?
The Booge.
Okay.
Yeah,
the Booge.
And they just start at 7 and end at 10, and they kind of run it through a 30-minute thing. Which, we run a place called the Beehive that's like much closer to the Paper House, and we'll go till midnight or whatever because it's a separate house, and it's just kind of more space. But I forget what the original question was.
No cops.
No cops. The cops are pretty chill. Sometimes they'll be like, "Hey."
They've been doing it at Paper House. I was shocked because they even there was an article written in like the Post about Paper House. I was like, oh, it was nice knowing your venue, assholes. Like, why the hell would you make it that public? And it was fine. It's like no problem at all.
So then I guess the question is, what happened to the venues?
The venues are still a good place. Here's the thing. Now, out-of-town bands can come through twice, play good house shows, and then other local bands can help them play a good venue show. Because the venues don't necessarily say yes right away anyway.
Right.
And it all depends on what you're doing.
But once you can kind of prove, like, naturally that there's fans for that band,
right,
then it's super easy to do. And that's happened with Jamaican Queens, like, very recently.
The Dig also came through.
Yeah.
Even Landlady came through, I think, originally at the Paper House.
No, at the Beehive.
Oh, was it at the Beehive?
Yeah, it was at the Beehive, yeah.
And then they were able to play Black Cat.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good... I don't know how the venues think about it, like, on a day-to-day
It's
basis.
also, it's kind of...
long-term, it's a good...
And it's just run in a different way, the venue... Like, for example, like Black Cat, that's such a great venue. Like, the Black Cat backstage is a great small venue for, just like moderate-sized indie bands.
It's the best sounding room, I think, in the city.
I mean, that's been there forever.
Yeah, and it's still great.
Right. Yeah.
And, like, it's a great bar. I mean, even just as a bar to hang out, it's
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
And DC9 is a really, really great place to play. Because from Philly, I was, like, kind of against venues. Because I'm sure you went to the Khyber and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean...
They fucking suck. They weren't...
Yeah. I mean, we have a special place in our heart for the First Unitarian Church.
Yeah, well, that's different. And, church is the best.
I mean, Sean and, like, R5, like, all that stuff. But
4040, the Rotunda.
Oh, man, the 40... So, you were around for the 4040.
Yeah, and we saw Rye
at the drive-in.
And
you saw at the drive-in?
No, we saw at the drive-in at the church.
Yeah, I was going to go to that one. Yeah.
And, no, we also saw him at 4040 with Rye Coalition.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot all about Rye Coalition.
Oh, have you ever seen a man?
That's like I grew up going to those shows. No, that's different than for example, like the Fire, which was like the worst venue.
Right.
Yeah, I was actually just explaining that to them that was the place of like sucker in out of town bands.
No, come play here.
Like, and then I like my other band would get like, emails like, "Hey, you want to play us at the Fire?" I was like,
No.
Cool.
We couldn't book a show. Did you try the Fire? No, I didn't hear back from them. All right, you guys want to play a song?
Sure.
Yeah. Even though we could talk like Philly underground basement shows for like 4 more hours. Wait, real quick, what's your favorite cheesesteak?
Either Jim's. Are you talking about between Pat's and Gino's? Or
no.
Okay, fuck that. Okay, I believe it's D'Alessandro's, which is in Roxborough. That's my favorite.
Okay.
What are yours?
Tony Luke's.
Tony Luke's.
And I like Mama's, which is in the suburbs.
Yeah, but Mama's is too big. It's too big. No, because you can't get a good... The meat to bread ratio is way off. We don't have enough time.
Get a bigger
mouth.
Okay. What's the song called?
We're going to start with High Livin'.
Okay. Great.
Cool.
High living's where you find
fun. Summertime fun.
Yep.
So let's talk about the new
Funner
record.
time.
Funner. Yeah. Yeah. Shut it down. I will say 6 years of doing the show, I've never heard that pun. So that's a Snacky Tunes first.
I'm going for at least I'm going for the deep cuts.
Yeah,
Deep
okay.
cuts.
So let's talk about the new record, Rima.
Cool.
Coming out, and let's talk about it. Where's the inspiration from? Where did you guys get the thoughts for it?
Well, I guess I initially wrote those that batch of songs I guess 3 years ago at this point. So it was after Ben and I and two other members of Pree who used to play with us had come back from this massive 2.5 month tour, and then we did another month off of our last album, Folly. So we were pretty burnt out. We all kind of went our separate ways for a while.
It's burnt out like an understatement.
That seems like a couple of years.
We'll put it this way: there's 2 new band members, so yeah, we'll leave it. We can just leave it at that.
Yeah, drama mama.
So yeah, it was kind of a period of repositioning and upheaval. So it's good fodder for songwriting and just questioning everything, every decision you've made in your life, and just learning how to close some doors. At that point in your life. So I was definitely going through that at that moment. And so then we ended up meeting up with Michael in October of, I guess, what was it, 2012? Thereabouts. And then Ben shortly thereafter, that following spring. So we all worked on the instrumentation for Rima together and really fleshed out the songs, recorded it a couple summers ago at Ben's house in DC with a local engineer, Peter Larkin. They really came together, and we were able to record them the bulk of it in a house setting.
Oh, nice.
And then we just finished it off in a studio that Peter was putting together.
As the record was getting made, it was pretty much like being built along with us. So we go to mix it at his at first, which was like the studio that was like a shell that had like a few pieces of gear. It started off at his house, right?
We convinced him. Yeah, once he got the studio, we convinced him to bring back in the couch that he had put outside because like he didn't want it anymore. He had like left it for the trash, and we were like, "Yo, this couch is fucking awesome," and we need a place to sit while we mix.
And it really just changed the whole sound of the studio when we brought that couch back in.
We mastered everything through the couch.
Oh yeah,
we reamped it.
Got that couch filter on it. It's a lot of money. It's what you're paying for mostly.
Yeah.
Well, there's just a few coins in the.
It gives it that jangly, pop sound.
From that conflict, how do you feel that your songwriting process changed from the previous record?
Well, it's definitely good to work with a limited time frame, which we did have. We were hoping to get it done over the course of a summer versus the course of 2 years, which is how we put the last album together, and sort of like patchwork vibe over the course of like several houses that I lived in DC. They all had like just a different... they were recorded in different rooms, attics, basements. So it was good to have a unified sound and being able to work with Ben and Michael to put together something really cohesive. I think is definitely a luxury.
Also based on the attitude. Like, May had a certain attitude with the spirit of the songs that is like really vital to it, and that's what I know as players we were all able to pick up on, and why we kind of like really kind of like dove in deep, and each part has its own vibe and attitude and sass, just because that's what was built into the songs already,
And I think what also helps is that all of us come from really different musical backgrounds, and we're not specifically May will come in with a song, and then we all have our very different interpretations of what the song might mean, or lyrical. You just never know. Like when you're in a group and what's really nice about being in this band is it feels like, it's a band made up of like 4 quarters. Like that's what it is, and as opposed to like a production based project, which if you do that, like you can sort of like just one person can like sort of like oversaturate it or something like that, and like there's a really really nice balance and you know. I don't want to say dialogue because it's only two people, but there's like a conversation happening between the four of us musically from very, very different. We're all from different parts of the country too, which also I think comes through in the music.
Why don't we hear another song then?
Cool.
Hear that dialogue.
Dialogue.
What's the name of this one?
This one's The Dog, also known as Dialogue.
He's what keeps me from picking up the phone. Always in the corner of my head. Haven't found him anywhere tonight. Checked the bed and in the kitchen there was nothing there. With the missing coffee table on the side. Still done myself to death. Big bad no, I've got that. Crazy gonna have it go. I'd only be a step behind. But now it's time to climb into the cab and take a drive that ain't familiar, though I couldn't tell you why. So I needed me another paradise. So I woke them when I made it to your door. Last my dad, you let me in, although I know I told you that before. You let me in, although I know I told you that before.
Amazing. Awesome. Fun. So you guys came down for Northside Fest?
We did.
Came up. Came down. Sorry.
We're kind of coming down right now.
Yeah.
It's been a long week.
Where did you guys play?
We played at the living room.
Oh, great.
So Paper Garden had a showcase on Friday night.
Shout out to Paper Garden. Thanks for setting this up, guys. Yeah. They were the ones who reached out to us, like, can we get these guys on here? So, I know.
And then we played Baby's All Right yesterday for.
I love that venue.
Like a brunch party.
That was great.
Place is awesome.
Those guys, they've been on the show before. I just love those. It's just a great venue.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. The lights there are so cool, and the way, I don't know, just everything about it's great. The food's good too.
I don't know if they had it when you're there, but the windows behind the bars will sometimes just open up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They had,
you can see straight through.
Yeah, which is when the last
venue.
Before I got sick, I saw Dan Deacon there, and then the last half of the show they just had the windows up, so it was like the whole. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Man, that's so crazy. Was he on the floor there?
He was on the stage.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that high of a stage. I think if he had been on the floor, the capacity of that room would have been cut in half. So
Yeah.
it's not like when he played
he made a compromise in art.
But not much of a compromise. I mean, it's barely.
Yeah, because there's huge bands that play there. I remember Deerhoof had a residency there for a couple of days.
Those guys have been booking for a long time, and I think the unfortunate thing about all of our venues being shut down in that area is that
they get all those bookings.
It's great for them, but it's it kind of funnels, and a lot of the people who were booking those venues are funneling to them as well. So it's kind of all these amazing promoters and this amazing venue are all coming together. So like the fans, I mean, we lost those venues, but they also kind of win for seeing bands of that size in that venue. So
So why are things getting shut down in that area?
Gentrification. I mean, all the buildings, like Glasslands and Death by Audio, were actually all in like the same building. Yeah. And just a lot of Zebulon for avant-garde jazz. Like a lot of those places. I mean, it's like a classic story of just all those places being sold.
It's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but they're all moving out more into like deeper into Brooklyn.
Some of them,
like that.
Some of them,
some of them are just gone. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Glasslands and Death by Audio are especially sad because I mean, just like I just love.
Yeah, Glasslands I loved.
Glasslands broke my heart.
Yeah, we were just at Palisades yesterday, which I know it's like in a different part, and that I really liked that space.
But that's the thing. It's like people are like. Not to say like Brooklyn said, but you have Transpico, you have Palisades, which are like when you go there, like this is exactly what Glasslands felt like when it opened. It's just like it's just not easy for the people who are writing or they don't want to go to Ridgewood.
I mean, I remember going to Glasslands when it first opened and it was part squat, part just like wood, plywood, just nothing. It was like how is this a venue? It reminded me of Stalag 13 back in Philly, back in the day.
Or when they didn't have AC at Glasslands and you'd go to summer shows there and you'd walk up the door and you could just like feel the heat and you like before you even walked in you were like I'm already like sweating and you're just like okay.
Did you guys ever go to the Athenaeum in Philly? It was a South Philly venue that was run by like some of the dudes from like Drums Like Machine Guns and like it was like 30 kids in this huge warehouse.
Oh, I went to a show there.
No.
And I saw a lightning bolt there when like probably in like 2000. It was unbelievable. Still like one of the most like
insane
life affirming being like this is what I want to do with my life. I want to just like
be sweaty
and be disgusting and have rust and like falling into my mouth and
that's ceiling rust.
So what's the rest of the summer hold for all of you? Touring, hanging, Jersey Shore? What are we doing?
Well, we just got back from a big tour, so like this New York trip is kind of the tail end of our record release tour.
Yeah,
so
we've been on the road for like...
We did a big loop through the U.S. And it's like the...
It's the fifth or sixth tour that we've done in like
within
4 or 5...
a calendar year.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to take a little bit of a break, kind of hang out. Ben and I are going to... the two Bens are going to work on another project that's going on tour in August and September. So
we'll be back here in August. But I mean, I think like
kind of filter, just like last time. I guess we're gonna like filter out what's happened in the last year and write some new songs.
Will you all be back in August then?
Well,
Brer is our other band. Ben and I will be back. Bearing in mind that we haven't eaten each other and killed each other.
Yeah.
But no, we were talking. So we recorded a single in Louisiana, and we're hoping to release that at some point this year. And then I know at the end of the year we want to make an EP. That's like our loose. That's not like a
loose plans.
That's our rough idea.
I mean, you did say it on internet radio, so we'll try not to hold you to it as banned by legal law. But
I know the internet's a strong thing.
It's fine because no one's listening, so no one will hold you accountable.
What about all those cats on the internet? Some of them are listening.
My coordinator is a huge fan, so I got to shout it out because Allie says hi.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi, Allie.
Yeah.
Hi, Allie. Well, thank you so much. We want to make sure that we have time for one song.
Yeah.
Cool.
I personally want to thank Liz and everyone here before I move off to LA tomorrow.
Darren's
tomorrow.
Yeah. But don't worry, we got some plans. I mean, I'll probably be back for a couple shows over the summer, and they have put a handheld recorder.
Doing like 4 more this summer.
A handheld recorder in my hand so I can start like talking to LA chefs and things like that. And Liz, you're always welcome to stay on my couch with Anna and I. Shout out to Anna, who I'm going to see tomorrow.
Shout out to Berlin Summers.
Berlin Summers?
Yeah.
Berlin Summers.
What a great name.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good name for a band. That's a good name for an album.
That's it. That's the next. That's the EP.
Yeah.
Berlin Summers.
And where can people find you? Information, records, EPs, side projects, former band members. House shows.
We're on Spotify. That's the most easy. We have a Bandcamp, which is just pre-music?
Pre.bandcamp.com.
We're on, if you can imagine it, we're on Facebook.
Ooh.
It's a thing. I think there's a There's a Twitter.
Instagram. Yeah, all the major suspects.
Yeah. Pre-music if you guys are looking for it.
Yeah.
I'll be out here.
And then we're also hoping to spend like a lot of our time coming up here more often too. So
cool.
We'll eat all your pizza.
Okay, sounds great. What's this last one called?
Cloak
All right.
This is the single we recorded.
Gotcha. Darren, safe travels out to LA.
Thank you to everyone.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're like the Oscar music playing me out, right?
He's gonna play
Your last session?
Yeah.
No, I mean that's the thing. It's not even my last session.
Yeah,
I'm just changing my zip code.
Yeah.
So dramatic.
I know.
90210.
So dramatic. Thank you. Someone agrees with me.
Oh my
finally.
God.
Okay, let's do this.
Ugh.
Pree, take us out.
Take us out.
Thanks for coming by.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Oh, and thanks to Marcus Samuelson for coming by as well.
I've been sparing this role. I've been sparing that role. But I'm no stranger to the code. He's a rich old man. He's a rich old man. He's a rich old man with many coats. What's this line I hear talked of? It's more of a coast. One side realigns and the other one goes. It's what I've made a walker. Now I keep you close. And I'll get to know this Holy Ghost. Not for his company, and not for his ghost, but for the shape of your face, for the shape of your face, for the shape of your face and his clothes. Here there's a new Santa Claus, and it scares me to death. To think of his high my jaws really hurts I once gradually in a grove, what not to believe.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.